Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so glad to have with me my dear friend today, Wendy Adams. And I got to give you full disclosure. Wendy and I are good friends, and we go to church together. So I need to let everybody know that a little bit about our background. And we do have a wonderful church at First Independent Methodist Church, and so many good things are going on. And what I want to talk to you today about is a few things. Before we go to the commercial, I want to talk to you about something that has come out of some of the members of our church and members of other churches. And y'all been meeting for some time, and it's basically the concept is reaching out to the homeless and feeding the needy. Tell me a little bit about the program.
Well, we have a project where we call it Feeding Our Friends, and we work together with different community organizations. And so we meet at Be at Peace Farms, and we talk with folks about what do you want to do, where do you want to have an event, who has what to offer, and what kind of resources do you have, and then we get together and feed folks.
And y'all did that back in March, somewhere around, I think it was a week before Super Saturday, and did it right here between the station and the Dairy Queen. And how many did you feed that day?
225. And we did have some folks deliver some plates where they knew there were groups of homeless and needy folks, and the law enforcement and public service folks helped us with that.
Wow. Over 200 people.
Yes, sir.
From a personal standpoint, how does that make you feel?
I'm very grateful to be able to be a part of such an awesome group of folks.
Yeah. And you know, you don't realize, and I sat in on one of the meetings down y'all had at Be at Peace Farms, and Pam Otts had addressed the group. And what I learned that day was how to tell if someone is homeless, how to identify them so we can be able to reach out in a way that is non-threatening, I guess would be the way to say it, because there's a certain way to greet homeless people. Some people are homeless by choice, and some people are homeless and don't want to be homeless. But tell our viewers, when we see people around the community that are homeless, how to identify them.
Well, my personal approach is, if, for example, that we have food that we're giving out that day, I'll just stop and say, hi, I was in the area and I had some extra plates, and I wanted to know if you or anybody you might know would be interested in that.
Okay.
So that's kind of an informal way to approach the person and just kind of get started. I had some tents and sleeping bags one afternoon. I saw a guy walking, and I stopped and I said, hey, I have some tents and sleeping bags. It's going to be really cold tonight. Do you know anybody that might need them? Mm-hmm. So just approach them as you would want to be. That's kind of my thought is you don't want to say, hey, you look homeless, but to respect the person and honor them and let them know that you care.
That's right. And to show Christ's love with them.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the most important things. And I know a lot of them people give them Bibles to, and there's more than one way to feed a person. Yeah, if they're hungry, we want to feed their stomach, but we need to feed their soul too, because so many people, bad things happen to good people sometimes. Only by the grace of God, we're not homeless. And
That's
people
true.
like us that are watching right now, you may say, well, I'd never be homeless. We should never say that, because we don't know what's out there and what we have to deal with. And you know, it really hurts me to see that. But Wendy, it hurts me when I see they have children, and those children are homeless. And I know there's a thing, Allison Dorsey, which also in our church, Allison Stinson now, but there's a KIN project. And they've identified in our city school system about 400 children that are homeless. That doesn't mean they're not at a place like a motel or something, but they're literally homeless. They do not have a home. So there's more than one way to help these people, but there is a lot of homeless in this community.
Yes, they can be in the foster care program or living with a relative on their sofa, but they don't technically have a core family unit living in a location.
Okay, we need food. If you're going to feed these kind of people, and if you fed 200-something people on a Saturday, and there's needs all the time, Bill and I, Bill Adams, Wendy's better half, we were at the church this week, and somebody pulled up and had no food, and we were able to help them, and fortunately we were at the church. And it was definitely not a coincidence. God puts us in people's paths to help them. Are we listening? Are we doing what we're supposed to do when God speaks to our heart? But we need food. Food don't just appear. So we need food to help these people. Tell us what we can do about that.
Well, we're having a canned food drive April 12th through the 22nd, and our drop-off locations are going to be the Georgia Farm Bureau, Cordell True Value on Academy, and TV 35 and Duncan Tire.
Okay.
So if any of you would be able to drop off food at those locations, we're going to be having a bin there, and we'll be accepting food. We would like to take non-perishable items, things that we could store on a shelf and have available in a box. That way, if the person is actually completely homeless, they can throw it in a backpack, and we'll provide can openers. So if you want to drop some can openers in there, that would be great. And then the other thing we're going to do is, for example, if we get a whole bunch of green beans, then we'll do an event where we serve green beans as as part of that event.
To give them a hot meal.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're going to give them a can opener, but there's so many cans now. If you look when you buy them, a lot of them have the pop-off
Right.
cans. So if you're getting maybe, and we're not promoting any brands, but the Chef Boyardee spaghetti or ravioli or lasagna, stuff like that with the pop-off can, then and those are meals that really don't have to be warmed up. You know, a lot of people eat them cold.
That was one of my child's favorite
Yeah.
things is he'd go in there and eat a cold can
Yeah,
of.
I mean, my grandchildren eat it cold. Now, I like to warm stuff up myself, but if I'm hungry, I'm going to open it up and
Exactly.
eat it. So those kind of things, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to be furnishing hot meals. I think that's wonderful.
So I want to share a little story if I could. We came in contact with a veteran who had published that he had a need for food and clothing, and so we had some folks who got together to help him, and come to find out he is feeding children in his neighborhood, and he's also giving away Bibles. So we were able to meet his need and then meet the need of many other people by helping him. So that was a really awesome thing that because we were obedient, we were allowed to help many more people.
Yeah, and there's people all over the county. I know there's a couple. Share with us the couple in Cadwell that are feeding people.
There's a couple in Cadwell, David and Mary Schmidt, and they have a program where they go around and feed people who are either homeless or near homeless. And last winter we helped them get some blankets and coats to them. So I tell people, they ask me, what do you need? And I just say, pray about it. Ask the Lord what you have that we might need. Contact us, and if we can't use it, we can help you find someone who can. We partner with other organizations in the area, and so if we have a truckload of socks, let's say, then we could find a distribution for that and share those resources.
Well, that's wonderful. And it does take all of us. You know, I have people say, well, why have you got another organization feeding people? Well, it takes all these organizations. The LBA can't do it by themselves, or First Baptist can't do it by themselves, or whoever. So there's a lot of people hungry in this community, and shame on us if we don't feed these people. And you would think, Wendy, in a country as rich as we are, we'd be feeding people that can't eat. But it's not the case. So it's just a wonderful thing. And let's brag on Dr. Otts and Pam, because they have worked really tireless in this area.
They have, and they've helped us coordinate the collection and providing a location for the collection, and then distribution and all those sorts of things. So they've been very helpful in that outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the distribution points again: Cordell Lumber, TV 35, and Georgia Farm Bureau.
Yes.
Okay.
And Duncan Tire.
Duncan Tire, that's right. Let's don't forget them. And this will go on from April the 12th until
The 22nd.
the 22nd. So please, just you heard what we need: non-perishable items. Take them by one of the drop-off points. You see them on the screen right now while we're talking. So just when you go to the grocery store this week, they're very inexpensive. That's what people don't understand. You can buy vegetables in a can 50 cents. The Kroger brand or the Harvey's brand or the Walmart brand, wherever you shop at. And I see they're on sale this week, but green beans and corn and pasta and things like that, tuna.
Canned meats, yes.
That's right, things like that. So please help us. Please help us, because, you know, all of us together, you're watching, the thousands of people watching us now, if we'll all just get a couple, 3 cans or a case of 12 or whatever, it's amazing what all of us can do together. So we want you to participate. We're going to take a commercial break, and I'm going to come back and try to get Wendy to tell me about a few other things she's got going on. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
You are the man of the hour, the king of the castle. Your subjects look upon you in awe and anticipation, because you're about to make their culinary dreams come true. Guess you should have had natural gas.
Brought to you by the City of Dublin.
Welcome back, everybody. I have with me still Wendy Adams, and we've been talking about feeding homeless people and homeless people in the area, and we talked about veterans just a little bit. And you know, in the United States, there's about 650,000 homeless veterans, which in itself is just a disgrace. It's a black eye on our country, but y'all are not only helping them as far as through feeding the need, the feeding the hungry, but also you have a program out at Be at Peace Farms, Highs for Heroes.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, tell me about it.
We work with combat veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's been shown that working bees helps calm yourself internally. If you're going to hold up a frame of bees, you kind of have to be focused on what you're doing. You can't be thinking about other things. So that in and of itself is therapeutic. And then there's something about the smell of a beehive. It's just an awesome thing. And then the sound and just being meditative and reflecting and having to focus is really helpful for post-traumatic stress disorder. It also helps for people who may have physical limitations to be productive. So you're nurturing something, you're creating honey hopefully, or you're raising bees, or you're pollinating. And so all those things can help, especially if they have like a backyard garden. So we have created a container garden where we're growing food, and we're going to be sharing that with the Feeding Our Friends program. I think we have about 40 pots of potatoes planted and tomatoes that we'll be canning up and using through the winter, you know, in soups and that kind of thing. So that's part of what we do. And in that program, we have had some bee suits donated, and we're wanting to help with that program. And if anybody has a veteran who would be interested in beekeeping, have them contact us. And we'll be having what we call a field day, and where the veterans come and they see if this is something they want to do or not. Sometimes people come and they're like, "Ooh, I thought I wanted to do this, but I don't." And that's okay. And we just want you to know before you get all in it if that's something you really are interested in doing. So
That's very interesting. Therapeutic. I'd never think that. Probably wouldn't be for me. I'd probably be scared to death out there with all those bees, but y'all deal with it all the time, and I can actually understand that, especially the smell and the, you know, that would have to be therapeutic there. And you do a lot of this one-on-one, don't you?
we do. We have small groups of people, and then we have classes, and mostly it's mentoring, and people come to us individually just because of the scheduling, and they'll come and work bees with us, and then we'll provide a hive and the equipment and everything that they need for that.
And you have a very long history as a veteran. Your father was a veteran, right?
Both my grandfathers were
Okay.
in World War II, and I was in the Navy Reserve. I was a hospital corpsman for a little while.
Okay, so that's why that's got to be dear to your heart, helping veterans, because you've seen both sides of it.
Yes.
We see how Hollywood makes it, you know, with all the movies, but there's a lot of veterans that fall through the cracks, and it is up to us to help. Y'all do a lot more at the farm. I know you bring kids out. You had kids from Dublin High School recently
did.
and things like that. Tell us about that.
They came out for farm day. Out of 45 children, I think only 2 of them had ever been on a farm. So they had a great time. They went. We had little stations set up so they could go see the tractors and see the garden, the chickens and rabbits, and then the bees and the livestock. So when they got around to, I was running the livestock area, and so when they got around to the livestock, they were taking selfies with the donkey and stuff. So they had a fun time with that.
Well, and that is important, because so many people think groceries come from the grocery store.
Right.
They don't realize that the farmer puts that food on our table, and what an educational process that is. And groups that are watching us now, teachers or whatever, is that something y'all invite people to do?
We do. If they want to come and visit the farm, we contact us and we'll work on scheduling that. We also work with recovery organizations, so those budgets are usually limited. And if people, we call it work hard, play hard, so come and work for a couple hours and then come and kayak and fish and play for a couple hours. So that way there's no cost to them for that, and we get a benefit and they get a benefit.
Well, tell me about that necklace you got on there.
One of my friends gave me this. It's bees sitting on a honeycomb.
Right. What got y'all in bees?
One of our friends, a couple of our friends were in recovery, and they left their daughter with us while they were working on that, and she was studying bees, and she'd come home and we'd look up bees on the internet, and she'd say, "Mr. Bill, we need to get some bees." He said, "No, babe, we don't need to get any bees." So we got some bees. And then a few months later, we were contacted because there was a wreck on I-75 in Forsyth. A bee truck had been tipped over, and I contacted the sheriff's department and I said, "We're beekeepers, we have suits, do you want us to come and help?" And they said, "Yes, please." So we got there and they said, "Please take these bees away." And so we helped gather up the broken hives and the equipment and all that. We shared some of those with our friends that helped us come set them up. And from there, someone heard that Bill was doing bees and he had an engineering background. So we would go and cut bees out of buildings and remove them and rehome them. So now we work exclusively with those bees that we rehome and breed from there to get those survivor stock bees.
Explain to us, someone who has a background dealing with bees, why are they so important to us? I'm talking about the human race. Why are bees so important to us?
Because I like to eat.
Yeah.
And so about a third of our food would not exist if it were not for bees doing pollination. And then also there's the impact of the grasses that they pollinate and that kind of thing. So even the meat, the grains that are available to raise the cows and the chickens and those animals that we eat. So really I think it's more than a third of our food because that impact is kind of ongoing. And then honey is a natural antibiotic, and it's antiviral and antibacterial. It's used a lot in wound care. And of course everybody thinks about taking honey for a cough. And then there's also the pollen, and then bee venom is used for all sorts of things. That's called apitherapy, and I won't go into that today,
Right.
but I'll let y'all look that
That's
up.
a whole nother show.
That is.
Well, I've always heard if so go the bees, so go us. So that's how important they are to us. And well, we're going to take another quick commercial break and come back and wrap things up. Stay with us.
At Morris Bank, we understand that your personal finances and banking experiences can be stressful. We also know that it doesn't have to be that way. That's why for over 60 years, we've dedicated ourselves to providing common sense banking to people just like you.
Even when I started working here, there was a definite vibe that you felt when you walked in the door, from the music that you're always going to hear playing to the "hello, good to see you, welcome, how can we help you?" You know, it's just a different experience when you bank here.
We work hard to combine the latest online mobile technology and top-notch customer service that allows us to do just that.
We realize our customers have choices, but what sets us apart is the personal service that we provide that they may not receive at larger institutions. We like to make you feel at home, and we like to make the process as easy as possible when you're banking with us.
But we're not focused on helping just our customers. We are equally dedicated to supporting the community we are a part of. Just this year alone, we've logged thousands of community service hours and provided significant financial support to the communities we serve.
Something that sets us apart at Morris Bank is what we give back to the communities in which we serve. And as the communities continue to grow, that brings more business and more industry into the area, and it's just this circle effect of giving back and receiving what the community can offer.
We want to make sure you have the best banking experience possible. Come see us or give us a call to find out what makes Morris Bank different, because we're banking on you.
Welcome back, everybody. Wendy, we only got a couple minutes. Let's recap. We're trying to put food together to feed the homeless. Tell me the drop-off points again.
Cordell Lumber on Academy, Georgia Farm Bureau, the Duncan Tire, and TV 35.
And tell us again, if you're just joining us, we're trying to put together food. Wendy and her group here at the TV station back in March fed about 225 people.
We did.
A lot of them that don't have a good meal. And I was talking to a guy this week talking about how many days he had went without eating. We take that, because we get a snack during the day, or we go home and eat or whatever. And it just breaks my heart, and I know it does you, knowing you like I do, Wendy, that people are hungry because we're not hungry. Now, we may get hungry during the day, but we're not hungry. We can get food, but this is so important to our community. It's scriptural. God tells us to take care of people like this, and if God commands it, we better be doing it.
That's right.
And you and I believe that. And we want you to be involved. And what all do we? I know it's non-perishable. Go through some of the things that we need.
We can use green beans, corn, any kind of vegetable, canned meats, those kinds of things. We want things that we can distribute without having to worry about them going bad.
Okay. And if you have other things at the house, the kids have got grown, and you got socks everywhere, if you got an extra mattress or sleeping bags, these needs come up. If you're watching us over in Wrightsville, you got a member of your crew that does outstanding work over there. Before we go, I want you to brag on him.
That'd be Mr. Keith Souls. And we're going to be feeding some folks on April the 29th, I think it is. And so we've got a group called the I'm In Crew on Facebook. If you want to look that up and ask to join, then once we verify you're a real person, we'll do that. And what we do is we post things on there, for example, the mattresses or the sleeping bags, and say, I'm moving and I have 3 extra mattresses. And then somebody else will get on there and say, oh my goodness, I just took in 3 foster children and I could really use those. Yeah. So it's just a clearinghouse for items and needs. It's also, we have some encouraging scriptures, and people post things on there about testimonials that have happened to them. Yeah,
what a great Facebook page, and I enjoy, it's on my news feed every day, getting to see updates, and Keith does a wonderful job. That's why I didn't want to finish the show without bragging on him. I know as humble as he is, he don't do it for the recognition, but we need to recognize people like that because he's doing great work over there. If you're in the Johnson County area, you know Keith, and get in touch with him. Get on Facebook and join the group and keep up with things. But every week I see Keith post a need for whatever. And you know what's good? We were talking in Sunday school Sunday. This particular need in East Dublin, a lady with cancer, and they didn't have food. And all of a sudden, like within 24 hours, we had more food than we could possibly use. We had all this financial coming in. We had a house burned a few weeks ago. And the man told Jerry Warren this past week, said, we're like one trash bag away from having to donate some of this stuff because there's so many good people in our community. And if you're watching us now, you're one of those people. And if you're sitting in Soperton or Wrightsville or Twiggs County or Cochran or Eastman or Lawrence County, you can be a part of this situation here. And we just get things done. And I mean our community when there's a need like this. And what a great feeling to live in a community like this, isn't it? I enjoy it. Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you. Well, I always enjoy talking to you. It's usually not on camera, but we talk quite a bit every week. But the number's on the screen. If you need Wendy, you see the dates there. We're going to show them to you one more time as we close the show out. And you see right there where you can drop them off, the drop-off points. So take a look at the screen there. And we're going to wrap it up. Wendy, thank you very much. I want to thank Bill being behind the camera today. Thank you. He's the silent one, isn't he? Sometimes. But I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, and thank you for joining us today.